Light from darkness. Last week's Torah portion, Vayeshev, ends with Joseph in prison after he had been set up by Potiphar's wife with a false accusation of sexual misconduct. Now, at the beginning of this week's Parsha, Joseph is still in prison. He's still going through the struggle of the mess he had been placed in. How long does it take? There was a cue, right? But how long does it take when we are in a mess or when we are about to go through a serious trial before we reach out to God? If you look at the text and you look at them very carefully, Joseph's going through this, and it's not until he begins to be asked about his ability, his gift, that he then refers to God. He doesn't do it in the beginning of the trial. He doesn't do it when he's about to get into the mess. He doesn't do it when he's accused. And the question it beckons this morning is, why do we wait until then to seek God? I know we're a learned people, right? That's the reason. It's because we're learned people. We're highly intelligent, and we like to figure everything out on our own. But apparently during that time, that is when Joseph finally refers and includes God into his life. Before that, he had been given dreams by God. He had been given revelation by God. He had been given understanding, insight, and he had studied about God. And it's not until he is in prison that he reaches out to that God who had gifted him, who had blessed him, who had placed him above all his brothers. And he says it very beautifully. When Pharaoh goes on to say, you have such a wonderful gift and amazing ability, he says, it is not I, but it is Elohim who sees after Pharaoh's welfare. It is not I. Finally, he begins to get it. It is not I, but it is God who takes care of our welfare, who takes care of our health, our finances, our destiny. Amen. Pharaoh is clearly impressed by Joseph's skill and his brilliant marketing plan. But what exactly sets Joseph's interpretations apart from all those wise men of Egypt? Came from God. Perhaps his trials taught him to pay attention a little bit. Our greatest command is what? Huh? Okay, before that. Very close before that one. Right before that.
Hear, O Israel.
Pay attention, right? He says, Shema. Hear, pay attention. Pay attention, hear, pay attention, hear, pay attention. That we may catch things as they are happening. Right? Before we head off down that road because we have a four-wheel drive, maybe we should pay attention to what it says. Maybe we should watch exactly what kind of road we're about to drive into. So passionate is Joseph's belief in God that he is elevated from the depths of the dungeon until the position of Pharaoh's second in command. But it took him a little while to kind of maybe ease up on the ego. Right? Maybe be humbled a little bit. God has gifted so many people here and some that are watching with so many gifts and talents. But sometimes we get so full of our gifts and talents that there's no room for the Creator who gave them, who instilled them, who blessed them, who continues to provide and continues to build you up. Very much like this beautiful menorah. It once started as just little blocks of brass. It wasn't adorned, it wasn't like this. But 75 plus years ago, this was made. It was created. And God too is fashioning you and I this very moment for a divine purpose. A purpose of blessing. There's an old Jewish saying that says, you are blessed to be a blessing. Do you get that? I'm not blessed so that way I can brag upon myself, or that way I can elevate my own status in my own eyes amongst my own friends and colleagues. But rather I am blessed to be a blessing. Right? Joseph was blessed so that he could then provide for the nation of Israel. But first, some of that ego had to go. And we read later in the story that he fought that ego. When his brothers are there brought before him, and they didn't recognize him. But deep was the yearning for him to rejoin with his people, with his kind, with his purpose. Every affliction to befall man has a set time to end. Every test, every trial, every single thing that you could possibly go through has a set time appointed by God that it will cease. But sometimes we drag that out, right? Sometimes we drag that out. We want to hold on to the hurt. We want to hold on to the pain a little bit. Well, I have every right to feel angry and hurt. Okay, stay there another year. How many times do you want to go around the mountain? How many years do you want to waste in the wilderness? You're not getting any younger. I'll never forget hearing my grandmother say that all the time. How are you doing, Grandma? I'm not getting any younger. Every single day, that's her first response. But it's true. You are blessed today. Today you have the light. Today you should run in the light while it's still available to you. In this regard, Joseph, who was 10 years in prison, was ultimately for his own maturity. And I know that may sound harsh. but if he had never experienced any of this betrayal, any of this loss, any of this hardship, would he be appropriate to serve over all of Egypt and Israel? Or would we have another Saul? Everybody familiar with Saul?
Yes.
Kind of had a little bit of an ego issue. I mean, just a little bit. Why did Israel pick him? Because he was the biggest and best looking guy, right? That's why they picked him. He was a strapping guy. They picked him. And, well, they got what they got, right? But we are called to serve in humility, not in pride. We are called to serve in mercy, not in conceit. We are called to serve in reverence. And if we are boastful, let it be only about our Creator, about our Messiah, Yeshua. How often we meet people who have no time or room for God in their lives. They believe that their success is solely by their own hands. I did this. Look where I got. Look what I did. This is a picture of Joseph boasting about the dreams to his brothers. Look at what God gave me, and look at what y'all do. Y'all shear sheep. I tell you, if we get boastful, God will humble you.
Quick.
Yeah. But God saw it fit to bring about light from Joseph's dark moments in his life. And even from the dark moments within Judah's life. After Judah had lost not one but 2 sons, God still saw fit to bless him and to rise up Judah above all the brothers, that he would be considered the first and no longer the second. God saw fit to rise up Joseph out of the dungeons, out of the prisons. Saw fit to prosper him while he was in the prison. Bless you. The rabbis write that Joseph was so full of himself that his life was one pitfall after another. From the one his brothers threw him in to the prison that Potiphar threw him in. And it's when he turns to God. It's when he acknowledges God that he really begins to see the fullness of God's mercy, of God's authority and God's beauty. Allowing God to enter our lives can provide us with a sense of humility, with ethics, with integrity. Allowing God to enter into our lives can provide us healing. It can help tear down those veils that we are busy putting up. If we learn one lesson at all from Joseph, let it be that it is not I, but God who sees after our welfare. I want you to say that with me this morning. Say, it's not I, but it's God.
It's God.
In Zechariah, the prophet writes, "Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for behold, I am coming to you, and I will dwell in your midst. And many nations shall be joined to the Lord in this day. and they shall become my people, and I will dwell in your midst. Then you will know that the Lord of hosts has sent me to you. In Galatians, Paul says, keep in step with the Spirit and learn to hush your flesh. Learn to quiet your ego a little bit. In Zechariah 3:2, the Lord said to the accuser, I rebuke you. I rebuke you. And this really goes back to the question in Luke. When Messiah asks, what do you say? What do you declare? Who do you praise? When Messiah asked them this, they stood with their faces downcast. They didn't know what to say at that moment, right? Brother was just telling me a story about they were out and about, and somebody asked one of his grandchildren, what are you? And the boy almost talked. And I don't know. So this morning. Okay, all right. So this morning I pass the question to you. What are you?
I'm a child of God.
Okay, we have one person that says it. What are you?
Children of God.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Hey, look. I know personally when I am asked, what are you? I'm a Messianic rabbi. I'm a Jewish rabbi. I'm a Messianic rabbi. It's never outside of those two contexts. So, you have to know. And in that knowing, be humble about it. Lest we forget what he told Esther. Yeah, if you don't do it, he'll still have it done. But you and your house will not be blessed. I never forget that passage because there are some that kind of treat folks as if they're disposable, and they're not. Each soul is precious to the King. Each person is a beautiful creation to him. And just as you feel the love of God within you, that you are supposed to reciprocate to other people, other creations. Because he loves them just as much as he loves you. And that is in fact a point of pride. That God loves you so much, but yet He also loves you just as much. And He loves each and every person here with a love beyond words, beyond our comprehension. So how long will you stay in your prison? How long will you stay in your darkness? How long will you keep wandering around the mountain before you reach out to God? And when people ask you, who are you? Or who is Messiah?
Yeshua.
Will you respond with confidence and certainty? Because if not, I hate to tell you this, you might be due for another trip around that same mountain. If you think about it, what was the purpose of the 40 years with Israel? They had to keep going through trial after trial after trial, right? And part of it is, yes, so that way you and I can benefit from that. But the other side of that, they only had to revere God and worship God and love God. And yet they kept looking to everything else. Amen. Say it again, Cohen. Say that again, brother.
They looked at everything else but God.
Everything else but God.
There's the right thing right there. But they...
And He's here with us today. He's here with us tomorrow. He's here with you every single day if you would simply turn to Him. He never called you to be a prisoner. He never called you to wander aimlessly in the wilderness. He never called you to be a pauper or to be some other thing that's a difficulty in your life. But that's only going to change when you let go of your ego. I'm right. No, you're not. God's right. Turn to the Creator. It wasn't Joseph that interpreted the dreams. It was God that revealed it. So this morning, is she going to do the thing? Okay. So this morning, if there is a wilderness that you're still wandering around in, if there's a peril in your life, or maybe there's a little bit of ego there, you're at the rock bottom and yet you still want to hold on to your pride because that's all you've got left. Anybody ever try and plant fruit over a sidewalk? Anybody ever do that? I mean, does it grow?
No.
And brother, you have a whole farm over there. Will any of that grow on a sidewalk? No? Wait, are you sure? Not even the watermelons?
No.
The corn?
No.
Nothing will grow on the sidewalk. Nothing will grow on your pride. Nothing will grow on your pride, on your ego. Nothing. It won't grow on my ego. It won't grow on your ego. It won't even grow on a Cohen's ego. And he's a Cohen. It won't happen. It's not within God's law for that to happen. Everything that's within His law will happen. Things that aren't there simply won't. So, we're going to take a moment, and if you need to be anointed today, if you need prayer, if you need time at the altar,